30-something and you don't have the car,
the job,
the business,
the spouse, and feeling a little like a mess,
we're here to tell you you're still on track to that dream and doing just fine. I'm Beleza.
I'm Kiki.
I'm Gigi, and this is your podcast. Welcome.
Welcome to 30 and a Mess. What up, y'all? It's your girl, Beleza.
It's your girl, Kiki.
And it's your girl, Gigi. And if you're tuning in, chances are your life is still in shambles. Welcome.
What's up? How was y'all weekend? How was y'all feeling?
Wasn't expecting it. My weekend was good, though. I finally closed out a storage unit that I had that I'm so thankful. It was like 6 years overdue for closing it. It was like a whole bunch of my stuff from college in there. I don't know why I kept that storage.
Oh, yeah, because you went home, right?
Yeah, I ended up going home. Yep. And we went to a basketball game this past weekend and everything. We did some stuff.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, we actually went to Helen, Georgia for their Oktoberfest. We did nothing there. We just kind of walked around and people watched, but it was a great, different environment.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I was stuck in the lab working on our line, which is out. So make sure y'all cop it. It's definitely on our Linktree, so make sure you cop it. We're having a sale for Black Friday, so that is really exciting. But today is special because we have our first episode with guests.
Yeah.
New for y'all. So new. I know y'all sick of our voices already, so we're going to give y'all something new.
So we decided to switch it up a little bit. And so this episode is real special because we are going to be talking about mothers who are in their 30s. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and introduce them. So do y'all want to introduce yourselves? Just pretty much, tell us your name, age,
how you met us.
How you met us. Very important, y'all.
All right, so I'll go first. My name is Brittnie. I'm 33, 2 kids, and I met all of these ladies at UConn.
UConn stand up, Huskies.
Students today, Huskies.
I'm Tiffany. I am 32, and I met them all at UConn.
My name's Amanda. I have a 3-year-old, and I met these lovely ladies at UConn. One of them, we go way back to high school days.
True, actually, middle school.
That is true.
We go all the way back to middle school, Amanda.
Wait, what middle school you went to?
True, we went to Troop. My poor baby.
No, you got to write it down. You got to write everything down.
I'm just going to blame it on mom brain. We're going to talk about
Nah, you had that before this happened, before mom brain.
That's old brain, y'all.
Okay, so y'all told us a little bit about y'all, your age and how many kids you have. But what age did you become a mother?
So I was 29 when I had my first baby, just on the cusp of 30. So I really feel like I got to live out my 20s before I actually became a mom, which I always wanted.
I had my first kid at 25 and my second at 29.
I was 29 when we got pregnant, and I was 30 by the time he was born. He was born a month after I turned 30. So.
Okay.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
I love it.
All right, and then the ones with multiple kids, did y'all decide to wait to have kids, or was the second one like, we just had them?
Both of them was like,
Well, I wanted the first one, and we were kind of like, yeah, we want one. But when we planned to have one, and when I finally found out I was pregnant, was not aligned, and the second one was definitely an oh.
And then Ampy, no pressure, but are you thinking of having any more children, or y'all not really thinking about that right now?
Yeah, no, we've talked about having more children. I think our set number is 3. Low key.
God bless you.
Low key, I kind of want to have a set of twins, so it'll be 2 in 1 type of deal. So everybody just kind of stay tuned for that.
We watching the IPA show.
So was postpartum real for you guys? Like, did you guys experience post or even prepartum?
Well, I've actually never heard of prepartum, but the postpartum for sure. I think everybody experiences it to some degree, but I had a very mild version of it where it kind of manifested itself in the form of spending every hour with that baby, constantly worrying about whether or not they're breathing, not showering, at my usual time. Like everything just felt like I had to be in front of him or watching him. Otherwise, something, could happen. I just felt like it was a normal mom thing. I didn't feel like it was postpartum.
That's deep.
I will say, like, it wasn't really like postpartum symptoms. My problem was like, it was just boring being in the house. Like, that was my thing. It was just kind of like I was by myself, Rick would go to work. Logan, I was fine. It was harder because I was my first kid. Like Brittnie said, like, you're learning new ways to do things because this is all new to you. With Kendall, I was like, oh, okay, where are we going? Because we not staying in the house. I learned this ain't working. Even if it was a morning trip to Target, just because I was just like, I got to get out the house because I knew if I stayed there, that's when things would probably start to spiral because it'd just be me and my thoughts, and that wasn't going to be okay.
So true.
I at the time I didn't realize what I was going through. I found out, months afterwards that maybe I was a little bit in denial in regards to having baby blues or even postpartum depression. I think that a lot of moms, I don't know, I feel like we don't talk about it enough because maybe not a lot of people experience it, or the mothers that do experience it, they feel some type of guilt for experiencing the baby blues. This is a time where you would think that you're happy, you're joyful, you just gave birth. This is the happiest moment in your life. And I'm not saying that that feeling uh, won't come, it will come. Unfortunately, for some women, that feeling either comes in months later, years later, sometimes it doesn't even come at all. Fortunately for me, the first month was a little bit harder because, again, the transition from, you know, um, not being a mom to motherhood was very hard. I didn't know what to expect. There's no rule book about how to, give birth and how to raise a child. And it's so funny because, I tell everybody all the time, like, I don't know what I thought after a baby was born. It's like it's like you don't think about anything else, right? You just like, oh, a baby's born and that's it. And there's so much more that comes with it. And the mental health is very important. Your emotional health is very important. And if you don't seek help right away, I think you can lose out on a lot of precious moments because you're stuck in a funk. And so, in my case, I'm very grateful to have a partner like Dennis, who's just been so supportive with me since day one. And, although my family was far away, my mother spent that month, the first month with me, and, I had him on speed dial. And so I'm still learning, the transition is still ongoing. I mean, I know more now than I did before. I just, like I said, the baby blues is definitely something that's very real. And I think we have to, be more knowledgeable about that and find ways to kind of cope with it and not be like so hard on ourselves and show ourselves grace, because that's what happened when you're in denial about certain things or when you feel guilt about it. Then you as a mother don't get the help that you really need in order to be able to transition smoothly and have a great experience. So fortunately that happened for me a month later. And then after that, like I said, it was ongoing. It comes in waves, but overall I'm doing way better with that now. So yeah.
That is so good to hear you're doing better. And it's so good to also hear you highlight that a lot of moms don't even know that they're going through it. So that's interesting. Like your mind is so like changed that you don't even realize
Right.
like your placement of where you are mentally. So that's interesting. And when you're in the hospital, like do they I know like there's certain treatment that you experience or like they give you certain resources. Like what was the treatment and the resources that they referred you like going through that process?
So and you know the other ladies can also highlight this, but usually at your 6 week checkup the doctor gives you a form that you just kind of circle yes or no of how you're feeling. And if there's more no's than yes, it kind of depends on, okay, you might need to seek medication, you might need to seek some therapy.
Okay.
So those are the type of resources that are available through your doctor. So they'll try and catch it early on, but again, it's like you said, sometimes if you're in denial or if you're just so caught up in your own mind about things, like thinking that maybe this is normal, maybe this it'll go away, you know. No, right now you're going through a hormonal change. And so they're, you know, these hormones are out of whack. So yeah, so basically they check you at 6 weeks, you know, that's kind of the early on um resource of making sure that you're doing good mentally. And if not, then they do provide medication and therapy, and basically, you know, just that's really what you need in order to get better.
What was the treatment like? So like you having your baby, like all you ladies, like what was the treatment like from getting there with the water broken or having your water broken? I don't know how the process was
Yeah,
for
like did
each
you
of you.
wait? Did you go
Like
as soon as your water broke? Did you
yeah.
how did they
So
treat you?
And then
The
how they
nurses,
treat you
the
while
doctor?
yeah.
So I can answer, you know, that from my experience. I mean, I had amazing, like literally the most like beautiful birthing experiences. And part of that was because I had my husband there, but I also had a doula. And I wanted to have a home birth, you know, with my first kid. And my husband was not feeling that. So we compromised and we said, okay, we can do midwifery care in a hospital setting. And that's kind of where my journey took me. But my nurses were extremely attentive. Like everybody was just so kind to me. I had this huge suite. I was in a tub for part of my labor with my son. And you know, it was just amazing. And then my daughter, I really had like a good experience. I had her very fast, like within an hour of getting to the hospital. And then I waited for a while at home too. I labored a lot at home. So either way, my hospital experiences were great. Like I know people talk about some of the bad experiences that they had, especially, you know, some Black women in their treatment, but I had a very textbook, boring pregnancy and no complications by the grace of God, honestly, because the more complications you have, I think that's where you run more risk of errors. So
Yeah.
either way, just very blessed. And I would just say to anybody who's thinking about, you know, doing a hospital birth, consider a doula because they drastically reduce the rates of C-sections and so many other things. And research your hospital too. I had delivered at one of the better hospitals in Connecticut for labor and delivery.
I am on like the other side of the spectrum. I was like at work and I was like, "Ooh, I don't feel comfortable," and I was 37 weeks. And I actually had an appointment that day. So when I went to my appointment, they were asking questions, which is funny because the my appointment was on a Tuesday, and the Friday before, I wasn't like feeling right, so I went to get checked, or I called in, and they were like, "Go to the ED." When I went, they were like, "No, you're fine." You know, and I was like, something was telling me I didn't feel like something just wasn't right. I was like, I drank orange juice. He's not moving as much. They say when you drink orange juice, the baby moves, whatever. So I was like, okay, not knowing my body was preparing itself because, you know, they don't tell you these things. So with him, I just had typical textbook. Yeah, same as Brittnie, like typical textbook pregnancy, like when you have morning sickness, whatever. The only thing that went wrong with me is I had pubic bone symphysis, whereas like your cartilage in between your pelvis slides. So
Wait,
you
what?
Okay,
Wait,
so
what?
I had that
yes,
too.
so what you don't realize is like what's holding your pelvis in the middle is a piece of cartilage,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what helps slide when you walk and whatever. So as your body is changing, like I got a tiny frame, right? So I have this little tiny frame, and as this baby who's now born in my uterus is pushing my cartilage out the way, my hips were just like not working. So like it was kind of like I my joke was to my husband that I needed WD-40 to like get ready in the morning. Like I would get out of bed and I would have to like tiptoe to work to get my hips working right. So that was like the only thing that went wrong. So like that was already against me. And
Wait,
then
does
when
it
that
go back? I know that's
yeah, no, it does go back. And I had always had like a little bit of hip pain and stuff anyway. So like, but it pops back. All your organs and everything goes back. So anyway, I went to the doctor that Tuesday and I told them, I was like, I still don't feel right. They were like, well, at this point they start asking you like more personal questions, like, is there fluid? Is there this? Is there that? And I was like, oh yeah, there seems to be like a little fluid that's not discharge or whatever, right? So then they test it with this strip that if it turned like the strip is tan and if it turns blue, it's like if it turns blue or green, it means that it's amniotic fluid and not regular like fluid. And it kind of turned teal. So they were like, this is weird. So then they sent me to the ED and they checked me
What does
at
ED stand
Yeah,
for?
the emergency department.
I was like erectile
I hear
dysfunction.
ER. I never heard
I'm sorry.
ED.
Well,
You
I'm
changing the
sorry.
lingo and then looking
Right.
at us
Right.
crazy.
Like we said it wrong.
My bad. That's what happens when you worked in a hospital at one point in your life. You learn ED.
Never. I never heard it.
Well, when you work in a hospital, we don't call it an ER. We call it an ED. It's a whole department. It's a department instead of just one room. Fun fact. But they literally poked and prodded me because they were like, well, we need to get your specimen on a microscope. Like to check what the fluid is, we have to put it in a microscope. So they're like poking me with a cotton swab, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this hurts!" To get the fluid to come out because and they have to poke your cervix. So I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And then
it's like a pap smear.
I'm sitting there waiting for my results to come back, and they come back and go, we can't find the original specimen. We got to do it again. I was like,
oh my gosh,
I'm dying. So this whole time, Rick is at work and I'm calling him, giving him the details. First, I told him, I was like, this is what's happening, but don't tell anybody. Cause I was like, I already freaked out people like his mom and stuff when I went to the ER that Friday.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So she actually called me and was like, what's going on? And I was like, nothing. I gotta go walk my dogs. Like I made up some like whole story of where I was. So after the second time they took the specimen, they came back and they were like, so that is fluid. You're about to have a baby. And I was like, because I didn't have my bag. I wasn't prepared. Like it was 3 weeks early. My bag wasn't even fully packed. Okay. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I calling Rick. He's like, at the time he was delivering car parts. And so he was on one of his last trips and going back to the store he was working at. And he said he like zoomed back and was like, I'm not gonna be in tomorrow. Tiffany's having a baby. And I was like, all right. So then we started calling people and telling them they admitted me at 6:00. I got my first epidural like around 7:30. I have a slight curve in my spine, so I had to get another one because it was only taking on one side, and he was born at 1:50 in the morning.
No, ma'am.
But the good thing about, I will say, the good thing about the hospital is that, like, everyone was really nice. The nurse was really nice. They kick everybody out the room. So when you're getting your epidural so that you can relax as much as possible and like, you know, nobody's energy of seeing the needle and all this stuff is in there. It's just you, a nurse, and the anesthesiologist. Like, even it didn't matter that he was my husband. He got kicked out the room. Everybody had to leave.
Really?
Oh, wow.
But it allowed for you to just relax. Like, I remember that the nurse was like, I'm gonna put a pillow on my chest, lean into me, and just relax. And she did that both times, and it just makes you feel really comfortable.
That's good.
And then he was born at 150, and then my daughter, so her, again, I had the whole pubic bone symphysis thing. It was worse, but I was going to physical therapy for it. They told me because I had a good birth with my son that I could get induced a week early. And I took full advantage and was like, yes, sign me up. Because I'm not doing this anymore. This hurts. And with her, I went in at 5:30. I got my epidural like within an hour of being there, because I thought, oh, well, if they always say your second comes faster than the first. She did not. Should have known then. She was stubborn, and in the words of Kendall, soik. That's how she says it and everything. So like, I went in at 5:30. She was not born until 8:29. They had to break my water. They broke my water.
5:30 the night before?
No, 5:30 in the morning. Same day. Same day. I went in at 5:30. I was hungry. I watched my mom and Rick eat in front of me, and I don't do good with pain medication, so they kept telling me to push the epidural without. So this one I got a little frustrated. The nurses were nice. The anesthesiologist would not listen to me when I told her, check my chart for my son. I had 2 epidurals. You might have to move it over. Like, I'm telling her what they did the first time that worked. And she was like, well, we're going to put it in normal. And then so she put it in. Well, is it? And then she came back and checked, because they come back and check on you when you get an epidural. Like, is it working? And so I'm like, no, it's tingly on my right side. I still kind of feel, well, keep pushing the pain button. Now, once you get an epidural, you have to have a catheter, which means you can't walk. You can't go anywhere. You're stuck in the bed. So I'm still feeling tingly, but I don't think it's working. How I knew it wasn't working was when they broke my water. So that part, that's the only one that frustrated me. She wouldn't listen to me when I'm telling her what the last anesthesiologist did and what worked.
You're so patient. She would have got bit.
And when I tell you,
they get bit, Gigi.
I'm like, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Come here.
Well, when they broke my water, that's when I really realized it wasn't working. I felt everything, and up to the point where after they broke my water at 7:30. I was ready to push at 8. I looked at Rick. I was like, I can't do this. And he was like, well, what we gonna do? And I was like, well, she can stay here because I can't do this. This hurt. And
put the baby back. Put it back.
No, she wasn't even on the way out. She could stay. Like, we could just chill.
Go back to the egg form.
And I pushed her out with 3 pushes in 29 minutes. They had to tell me to stop because the doctor wasn't in the room yet. That's how I was like, she gotta go.
she got I had enough.
That pubic bone thing that Tiff was talking about, I had that too, but sex from the back helps ease that pain. And there's these little stirrups that you can put. So not stirrups, I'm sorry. It's basically this strap that I had that like goes
under the belly, right?
Goes under the belly, but it also straps under your vaginal area. And it straps to the top of that strap. So it's basically like holding you in. It is the craziest looking thing, but it works a lot.
They did tell me about that, but I was like, it's not like you got to wear outside your clothes.
Oh, no, I wore mine underneath, but it was uncomfortable.
Okay, sure. Yeah, because they tell you when they give you the strap. So that's what they were telling me. Again, I have a tiny frame with bigger children. Even though they were born small, like, I was very small with Kendall compared to Logan. I was a little bigger with Logan, but I never got really big. But it was enough for where my body just couldn't handle the pressure of the belly. But I was like, I'm not wearing a strap outside my clothes. This is not cute.
I wore mine underneath, and I wore like looser pants or sometimes like longer dresses, but it helped the pain. And then when I would get home, I would just sometimes go upside down in like yoga poses, have your husband help you out. And you know, just gotta do what you gotta do. Those last few weeks,
it was.
What do you think this baby thing?
I definitely rethought of that.
Because there's so many hormones going through your body, as Ampy said, all those hormones are softening up those
Yeah.
muscles and cartilage so that the
ligaments,
baby can come out. So that's the purpose of that. So there is a reason for it. It's just not comfortable.
So yeah, so my experience was definitely, I feel like it could have been better at the hospital. So my son came 3 weeks early, and it was like those like 2 weeks leading up to his birth, I was dilating like rapidly. So something told me that the night before that something big was going to happen. And I think it was my body preparing me like you're about to be in labor in a few hours. So I remember that night I was like a crazy person just trying to wash the baby's clothes because again, he was 3 weeks early. And so I'm like, and Dennis is like, slow down, like you're gonna have time. And I'm like, no, I have to do this right now. My bag wasn't ready. Like even his nursery was still like halfway being set up. But all I remember was that because I was progressing those few weeks leading up to it, I just felt like I needed to hurry up and just get things as done as quickly as possible. And it's so funny because my doctor's like, what are you doing? Are you like out here eating spicy food? Because apparently spicy foods gets you into labor quick. She's like, what
That's
are you
what it
doing?
was.
Like, I'm not doing anything.
Ate the eggplant.
She's like, take it easy, stop walking so much. I'm like, lady, I sit in an office on a computer all day. Like, I'm not walking.
I will say I tried that and none of it worked. I tried a pedicure, I tried walking, I tried everything. I tried castor oil for Kendall. Nothing worked.
It was and so basically I'm like trying to take it as easy as possible. Right. Like, I'm not doing nothing, y'all. I'm really not. And so that night I went to bed, and like it was like 4 in the morning when I hear a pop in my stomach. It was like almost like it sounded like a balloon popping in my stomach. It was the weirdest thing. And I'm like, and I'm looking at Dennis is sleeping, and I'm like, okay, so I was the only one who heard that. I'm tripping, like what's going on? So then maybe like a half hour later, now it's like 4:30, I roll over, I hear the popping noise again, and I'm like, okay, this is freaky. I get out. I get out of bed, and then instantly my water just breaks. And I'm like waddling really fast to the bathroom, and I'm like, babe.
How you waddling? Show us how you waddling.
How you waddling?
The water? Now you gotta show it.
Trying to get there so fast, like it's just the water's breaking. It's like, what the heck? So I'm literally in the bathtub. I'm calling my mom, and I'm like, okay, so this is happening. So she's like, all right, take it easy. Take your shower, girl. It was so funny because I remember this one Kardashian episode of Kourtney in the bathroom just shaving, taking her sweet time while she's in labor. And I'm like, how is that even a thing? It's a thing because I swear on everything, I was in the bathroom shaving, like literally taking my time. And then we finally get out, and we're driving to the hospital, and then we get there, and like off the bat, Dennis couldn't find any like security guard to kind of help bring out a wheelchair for me, because at this point I'm kind of having a towel around me because I'm still leaking, and I don't feel any pain yet. But when I got to the hospital, it was like 5 a.m. I was like 5 centimeters long now. And I walk up to, we walk all the way up to the labor and delivery.
You was
department.
dripping?
Right. I was like literally
dripping. Y'all walk?
Like, well, yeah, because he could not find any security guard, nobody to help. Yeah, he was.
You would have pushed somebody out.
I'm like, excuse me, I need this.
He was already upset. Like, he was already upset because it's like, it's not like, what if something else was happening? Like, I needed to get there quick. No. So we walk all the way up to the department, and then we get up to the counter, and the lady's like, yeah, how can I help you? And he's like, do you not see she's in labor? Like, somebody help, right? So here they are, like, having me fill out paperwork at this time, y'all.
Oh, yeah, they do that. They do that.
Like, it's crazy. It's like 15 minutes. It was the longest 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I don't even know. It was, I thought like maybe 20 minutes. It was so long. And he's like getting frustrated. And I'm just trying to keep it together, just, you know, like signing the stuff, whatever. But then like the contraction starting. So now I'm feeling some type of pain. And I'm like hovered over. Mind you, I'm in the waiting room. There are other people waiting on their loved ones, right? And they're just staring, and I'm just like literally holding this towel around me, and I'm like hovered over, like somebody help.
You ain't have no pants on?
Huh?
She said, "Somebody help."
I
You ain't
had
have no
a
pants
dress
on?
on. Like I had a dress on. I just put
Oh.
on something quick. And so basically we go, like he goes up to the front desk to see if, because the lady just disappears, and he's like, we're like, what's going on? We can't open the doors. We can't go in there. Everything's locked up. We just have to
Bang,
wait
bang.
for the nurse.
Dennis
So-
knew he should have just busted it down. He know better.
Well, listen to this. So a nurse kind of peeks her head out of the door, and Dennis was like, I need y'all to come out here. My fiance is literally like leaking everywhere. She's about to have my baby. What is taking so long? And now everybody's like, oh my god.
Now
Like, if
everybody
they didn't know
nervous.
what was happening, now they
Now
know.
everybody-
But like,
It's because you was dripping in their waiting room.
we were just fed up. Yes, it was bad. That experience was bad from the
Aw,
beginning.
sorry.
And she was like literally lifting her arms, like, I don't want no smoke. But hold on, she literally ran. She ran out of there, grabbed somebody. They come out. Another nurse comes out, and she's like, "Oh my goodness, come on!"
Because that's
And
when they
so-
realized they messed up.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
I'm
So-
telling you, I've always said when hospitals mess up, this is now called the Bonner Hospital.
Right.
Y'all better not mess
Right.
up with me, bro.
Right,
I'm about to
exactly.
own this.
I'm about to
Right.
own this whole hospital here.
So they finally take me into the room, the delivery room, or just the room to get me set up to the machines and stuff. And then it's now like maybe 8, 9 in the morning. They're trying to find my OBGYN. This lady's not picking up her phone. I'm starting to feel the pain. I'm like, I need that epidural and I need it fast. And so they gave it to me, you know, and then like maybe around noon is when she finally shows up. They were having me wait this whole time for her to get there when I was already ready to push. And so she finally gets there, and I think Brittnie said it, you know, to have a doula, that's something like I would definitely want to have for my second birth, because I do feel that there are ways to give to pretty much birth that will help your body than just a typical laying down on my back, knees
Yeah.
up. And
That's the worst.
Yeah, exactly. And so now that I've done so much more research, I'm like, oh my God, these people, these doctors, Western medicine is just like, is not for us. It really is
It's
not
not.
for us.
That's why I wanted to have a home birth. But you know, midwives actually are a nice midway between like between a doctor and, you know, just having it at home, you know, on your own unassisted, which I would never do. But anyway, like the midwifery care makes all the difference. And really the doctor is only in the room the last 5 minutes. Like they're really just there to catch the baby, but the nurses are
Right.
doing all the work.
All the work.
Yeah.
Exactly. So then finally my son came. It was like 1 p.m., like around 1-ish. So I was in labor for maybe like I don't know, from 5 to 1. That's like what, I don't know. Yeah, the math ain't math, and I can't right now. But
It's 8
Like
hours.
8
It's
hours?
8 hours.
Like 7 to 8 hours.
Thank you so much, y'all. So yeah, so he finally came, and the funny, you know, it's not funny. It's funny now, but at the time I was so irritated because I had just given birth to him. They're trying to stitch me up, they clean the baby, all this stuff. And then not even like 5 minutes later,
Go
here
pee.
comes a lady from like accounting or something, like, okay, well, you owe us this much right now, and I need you to pay right now. I was like, lady, I'm literally getting stitched up. Like, I just gave birth and you're concerned over this bill that we have to pay. Like,
Don't even worry about it. This is now the Bonner Hospital.
Oh my gosh.
So wait,
Now
you came in
Bonner
there.
emergency room.
So wait a minute.
That's
She
what
came in
we
there when your coochie was out? Like,
No, for
what?
real, did she though?
I will say this though, and I don't know about anybody, but at that moment, nobody care about what you looking like. You just need the baby out. Like, you
No,
don't care
I'm just saying, like,
who's
you coming in
saying.
here, my coochie out. I can't put my coochie away before you ask me about some money.
Basically, yeah, basically.
She away.
She was supposed to pull the credit card out from there. You didn't know?
Right, pull it right out
Right.
from there. Hold
No,
on.
hold on. I got this.
I'm
And if a
thinking real
pussy
quick.
pop right now, you in here asking me about some damn money. Get
It
out
was
of here.
insane. It was so insane, y'all. I felt like this treatment could have been way better. And Dennis, like he spoke on my behalf because a lot of the time, he's always speaking on my behalf. And so he,
You got to do something.
he
They're
had
good for something.
several, yep, he had several words with them and
Oh.
they heard him and all that, but I just felt like that experience with me could have been way better. And it's I don't want to be the one to say, oh well, had I been white or had I had this or money or
felt
whatever, you know what I mean, like would it have been different? But
I bet you they
can't help
wasn't
but
talking to
wonder.
Beyonce when her coochie was out.
Yep, thank you. They wasn't
Beyonce paid
charging
for half the
Beyonce.
hospital. Okay.
She did. She paid for the whole hospital floor.
Okay.
You
She
right.
paid for that whole labor and delivery unit. It's
Thank
different.
you.
But I agree with the whole advocating for yourself. You have to be bossy. Your husband has to speak for you. Your doula, if you can have one, they help speak for you. And it's just like nobody's doing this but you. Like you really have to advocate for yourself. I remember I was extremely bossy, unapologetic. I told the nurse was like, oh, you're 10 centimeters dilated. You can go ahead and push when I was pregnant when I was in delivery with my son. And I was like, actually, I'm tired right now. I'm going to take a nap. And my mom was like, what the fuck? They just told you it's time to push. And I was like, no, I'm going to take a nap and I'll ring this little buzzer when I'm ready to push. And they were like, oh, okay, let her labor down. And they left. And I was like sleeping for hours. And then I pushed. Like, I think I took like a 4-hour nap or something crazy.
Damn.
I know.
I'm gonna go back in time and bring Brittany back with me when I
For
have
real?
Kendall. Well, no, I wouldn't, because I think her daughter was born too close to Kendall. But I need to bring her back with me because their anesthesiologist was not listening.
They gotta listen.
A 4-hour nap, girl. That's sweet.
Listen,
You went
I
to
was 10
sleep.
centimeters dilated. I was like, oh, I'm
Exhausted.
dilated. My doula, she was like, all right, cool. You want to take a nap? Put this peanut between your legs so that your pelvis can stay open and then go ahead and take a nap. And then my mom was like, I'm leaving. She left the hospital. She was like, call me when the baby's on the way.
I need Brittany's energy whenever I have a bubba. Now that you guys are mothers, I have a question. So Amanda had brought this up earlier, right? People are like, who Ampy?
You're right. Who is Ampy?
I know. I feel bad. I said her last name on here. But
Dang, my whole government. Everybody
The whole
I'm just kidding.
government.
Let's go ahead and say a social security number for people so we can go ahead and
So fuck it. Ampy said this earlier, right? And so about mommy brain, like, is that really a thing?
Yes.
And
Yes.
what is the definition for mommy brain? And then like how have you guys experienced it?
I don't know if there's an actual
I learned-
definition.
Yeah, I learned that your brain, because you have so much information in it, it shrinks so that you can focus on your baby. So it'll get rid of all the information, peripheral information that you don't need, and it tries to help you focus more on the things that you have to like know. That's what I heard.
Makes sense.
And you can find that in Webster's dictionary.
There are some. So listen, there is some science behind mommy brain. The reason that we take prenatal vitamins is for ourselves because the baby is taking theirs off the top. But one of the key ingredients in the prenatal ingredients is DHA.
Yep.
And that goes, what you have existing in your body is almost immediately allocated to the baby. And then afterwards, you have to keep taking those supplements. So I think what happens is moms go off of their prenatals after they have their kids when you really should keep taking them. And then that baby brain just starts to kick in because now your functions are just on caring for another human being. And so some other things got to go. Like maybe it's not a priority for you to remember that you needed a pedicure or to pay that bill or whatever. That's kind of how I've experienced it. Just a lot of forgetfulness.
I would say, well, anyone who knows me knows I was semi-forgetful before kids. So it made it worse. Like, but I think it goes to Jerry's point. Like, all of my my thoughts and my energy are like, okay, well, what time they eat,
Mm-hmm.
what time did they take the nap, and what time
Mm-hmm.
should they probably get up, and
Mm-hmm.
like, when is that appointment, when is my appointment,
Mm-hmm.
like it starts to go to that. Like, I, on top of like what Amanda said about being old, and then now on top of having kids, like, it's true. Like, I got it. I literally joke around and say, I don't know if it's because I'm 30 or I'm a mom, but I'm at the point where like I have to write it down. If I do not write it down, it will be forgotten, like gone. Like, you told me that, don't even remember.
Ooh,
Like, and
noted.
it's not intentional. It's genuinely not intentional, and I feel bad because somebody will say, I asked you to send me that. I'll be like, my bad, I really forgot. Like,
That'd be her whole energy too.
I really forgot. I am so sorry.
What do you want me?
Like, and it's bad. It's like calendars, planners. My notepad has probably like 100 different notes from things I needed to remember on my phone. Like,
Yeah, but I heard the brain only is in that state for like a year and a half after the child, but you can expand your brain back to the regular size of your brain if you do like crossword puzzles and like Sudokus and like mentally stimulating things.
which that, and I do that because sometimes
Oh,
I
that's
just
good.
need a mental break. But again, like, I was already forgetful. They just contributed to it. Like,
They just added on top of it.
and I don't know if it's because like I am an overthinker in my natural state, like before I was a mom.
Mm-hmm.
So I always was an overthinker. I always needed I call them useless things, like useless TV. Sudokus are useless, like things to shut my brain off. I
Yeah.
always needed that. I don't know if that just like contributed to it's just I don't know if like being an overthinker and then now you got mommy brain that like you have to add all these other things that you overthink of.
So
Yeah.
yeah, no, actually, mommy brain is just what that is. It's just being very, very forgetful, and sometimes you put yourself in very dangerous situations. I had a very bad experience one time with the baby. I literally was warming up water for his bottle and completely forgot I left it on. I've never done that. I don't
Oh,
recall ever leaving the stove on for forever, and Dennis caught it because he started smelling smoke. Oh
oh,
my
thank
god.
God. Thank God he's home.
Like, honestly, it was very scary. But yeah, it just goes back to just, sometimes, like Jerry said, your brain is just focused on one thing and one thing only, the baby. Okay, what's next for the baby? And so I forget what I was just doing, even if it was like a minute ago. And it's definitely worse in that very first year. It's gotten a lot better. But yeah, sometimes, I do forget things. It definitely it happens, but I'm just gonna continue to blame it on mommy brain. That's it.
I've decided.
Speaking of all the brain stuff, I know it took you months and months and months probably to come up with names for your bundles of joy. So how did you get the names and what was the reason for them?
So my kids' names are Wesley and Charlotte. Um, Honestly, my son, I was going through so many different names with my husband, and he was just shooting them all down. Like, I wanted to name my son Sutton. I wanted to name him Sutton because I thought that would be a cute
I would
name.
love
That was
that.
Husband
cute.
was like, no. Then I thought of, I think I said like William or something like that. And he was like, not really feeling it. One day I landed on Wesley, and it was the first name that he agreed with me on. And I was like, fine, that's it. That's our name. And like, and then for my daughter Charlotte, it was kind of like a twofold name. My grandfather, who's since he's now deceased. He had a sister who passed away a long time ago. I never got to meet her, but he talked about this woman all the time. And I just like always kept that name Charlotte in the back of my head. And then when I married my husband, his name is Charles, I just felt like that was like the perfect
Oh,
marrying of those two. So I kind of got the best of both worlds with that name. So
Charlotte.
Wesley and Charlotte, that's their story.
Well, their names are Logan and Kendall. So with Logan, Rick and I kind of fought a little bit because like he wanted to name, or he wanted his middle name to be his grandfather's middle name, which is Rick's middle name. So he wanted to kind of give him that. because that was like Rick's best friend. His grandfather was like his everything. So I was like, and then I wanted it to be my great grandfather's middle name. So then like we agreed upon, if you get the middle name, I get to choose first name.
Okay.
So then I kind of went through like just some names I liked, and as a joke, we would have his father, who has a strong, heavy Puerto Rican accent. Like we would make him say names to make sure it sounded right. Like no, because if he could say it, then so could the rest of the family. Like
That's smart.
so then there was 3 names I came up on, and it was Liam, Landon, and Logan.
Those are nice. You might save those other 2. Those are good ones.
No, I can't have no more kids.
Oh.
That was a choice. And I ended up liking Logan. Like it just was really nice, and it went nice with his middle name, which is Santiago. So Logan Santiago just sounded, it flowed nicely.
How did Pop Pop say it?
Logan.
Logan. We'll take it.
Yeah, because then Liam didn't sound right. Landon, it just wasn't rolling off the tongue right. So we were like, Logan, it's fine. You can't really mess it up. And we would call him Log or Logie.
Loso.
So he had really good nicknames. And then with Kendall, so she wasn't supposed to be a girl. In our mind, we were having 2 boys. Like that was it. Like we was like, his brother had the girls, we're getting the boys. Like it's just meant to be. And so I had decided, okay, our next kid would have my great grandfather's middle name, who raised me. Like now this is my turn. And then we liked the first name Aiden. So his name was supposed to be Aiden Alexander. Like we had it already. It was going to be Logan and Aiden, and it was going to be a perfect match. And then they were like, it's a girl. And I was like, I don't have any names. This is like not what I planned. Because, well, technically in my mind, Logan was supposed to be a girl. So I wanted to name her Chloe. Like if it was a girl, if Logan was a girl, it was supposed to be Chloe Alexandra. So now that we had a girl, I was like, what about Chloe? We could call her Coco. He was like, nope, I know somebody had a baby named Chloe. We're not doing it. And I was like, okay. Back to the drawing board. Then he came up with Tessa. I was like, no, sounds like a Tesla. We're not doing this. I tried Savannah. He was like, no, because all my family is gonna. Yeah, but he was like, all my family is gonna call her Sabana, and in Spanish, a Sabana is a sheet. And I was like, I'm done. And I was like, no, I can't have her being called Sabana. Like this was like this whole thing. So then I started one day. He was at work. I worked second shift at the time. So he was at work, and I started texting him. I went down 100 girls' names list. And I started at A, and I was like, Adrian. He was like, no. I like went all the way down the list. I finally hit K, and I was like, Kendall. And I'm going to disclaimer this now. This is not because of Kendall Jenner. I actually used to watch Dance Moms, and I remember Kendall and Dance Moms, and I was like, oh my God, that's such a different and cute name. So when it was kind of like Kendall, I was like, oh, I actually like that name. And so I sent it to him, kind of like Brittnie, like you send it. And then he was like, Kendall. Now, mind you, it's through text. So in my mind, I'm thinking he's agreeing with me. So he was like, Kendall, really? And I was like, okay, that's it. Kendall Alexandra, that's her name. And he was like, he didn't really respond. So we go through. I have the baby shower. People didn't know her name. They like, I would post baby KAO. Like nobody would ever know what her name was. I revealed her name at the baby shower.
Aww.
It was this whole thing. And then after she was born, he finally told me that when he said Kendall really in a text, he was going really as in like, really Kendall Jenner. He was not agreeing with me.
But he didn't want to upset you, so he let you have it. That's
and he's a great husband.
He's a good husband.
He is a great husband.
He's a great husband for that.
I think he was tired. I think he was tired because we really couldn't go on a name. Like if I went back through my text messages, I could probably find you. We went through a lot of names.
Yeah, you started at A, you ended at K.
Her name was by a mistake, but they work.
Yeah. So we named our son after his dad, Dennis, and he's the 4th. So we were like, at first we were like, are we doing too much? Because you're always thinking like third generation. You don't really hear too much 4 or 5 after that unless you're a royal, right? And shoot, why not? We're raising a king. But basically, I've always loved Dennis's name, and when we were thinking about it and we talked about it and agreed on it, he couldn't be more prouder. He's such a proud dad. Like, I love him, and he loves, in the beginning I could hear him like, it sounds so weird having to call myself so much, right? But I could tell he's just so proud of his son and being named after him, and the fact that he's named after his dad and his dad's granddad. It's just so nice. I think, like, wouldn't think that after little Dennis, our son, has a son, he would try to name him Dennis the fifth. I think that would be maybe too much, but I mean, if he wanted to, I guess.
Just tell him, throw it in the middle name so at least it stay in the family.
Yeah,
Something, right? Exactly.
gotta keep the legacy going.
Right.
That's true. So yeah, so that's how we kind of fell in love. We just fell in love with just Dennis overall, and it was very a quick, easy. There was another contender of a name, and then a couple girl names, but it was funny with the girl name because a really close friend of mine actually named her daughter the exact name that I thought of for my daughter, and she never really learned that. I didn't tell anybody really. And so when we found out that she named her after the name I had in my mind for a girl name, I was like, oh, okay, so you know what I mean? Like, this is, I gotta kind of be, not that I said anything, but I gotta kind of want to keep it to myself because, I mean, but it's like, there's but so many names out there anyways, and nobody's trying to be unique out here.
Well, that
either,
happened.
and have
That
some
happened
crazy-
with my sister. My sister ended up pregnant before I got pregnant with Kendall, and not knowing that I said, okay, I like the name Elena, but I wanted it Alana because my mother-in-law's name is Anna, spelled Ana, and my middle name is Anne, and I was like, that would be a perfect way to like incorporate both sides. Yeah, my sister ended up naming her daughter Elena, and I never told anybody, and I was like, well, there goes another girl name.
Yeah.
Aw.
It happens.
Well, it seems like all you guys have boys, and I know Tiffany and Brittnie has girls. So, is there any myths behind the gender of the child? And that's from pregnancy even to now that they're here. Because I know there was some things that said like, oh, the baby sits higher if it's a boy, or in the back if it's a girl. Or now it's seeing like your boy and your girls are like, is the boy more rambunctious than the girl? Is the girl have more attitude? Like, what myths do you have with having both boys and girls?
Listen, I think the only myth that seems to be true is the heartburn and the baby's amount of hair. Like, I feel like those two things, that's the only one that seemed true for me. But other than that, like from my pregnancies to even child rearing, like I don't really see any typical girl behaviors versus boy behaviors. And if anything, they're both like extremely like rambunctious and loud. Like they both want their own way. But like I said, my pregnancies were super easy. But the heartburn I had with both of them, and I feel like that one is true. I don't care what nobody say. That one is true.
I think, yeah, with Logan I carried higher. And with Kendall, that whole myth of like the baby stealing your beauty because it's a girl, like,
I heard that one too.
and like taking everything from you. So with Logan, like the textbook says that like you start morning sickness at 6 weeks and you finish by your 12th, 13th week. Like I was like on point with Logan and everything stopped when it was supposed to. With Kendall, I was sick for 5 months. And after I had her, like my hair felt different when I was pregnant with her. Like, so I have curly hair. So with Logan, I was like thriving. I was glowing. Like, I remember my curls were fine. With Kendall, my curls just felt blah. Like I was sick. And so that girl stole my beauty.
Took everything from you.
She did. I mean, everything came out all beautiful. I'm like, all right, this is what we doing, sis. All right. So
she is gorgeous.
I believe that is true. Or if not, it happened to me.
Well, I see what you hear with a boy is that you crave salty stuff. You I guess carry high or something like that. I think some other ones are you're not sick, you don't have morning sickness. Some of the things that I could remember. With me, it was I wasn't sick at all. Like I had an amazing pregnancy. Like I want to say, and I hope to the stars that the second pregnancy is just as great because I loved every second. I did not have any morning sickness. All because one of my fears was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna blow up. Like everything's just gonna blow up.
No, you're a cutie.
But actually, the crazy part about that is I lost a lot of weight in the beginning and I was worried because I thought that wasn't normal, but it's normal. Some women do lose weight in the beginning of their first trimester and then start gaining back the weight during their second and third trimester. So
That happened to me too.
yeah, it was crazy. And then I also think it attributed to my cravings. I mostly just wanted fruits. I couldn't get enough fruits. Give me mangoes, give me strawberries, like and my kid, he loves all types of fruits. And so I think it came from him. That's all I
That's
wanted.
the island in you.
Right. So that's basically all I wanted was that.
Aw.
And so for the longest, the running joke at the job I was when I was pregnant with my son was because there was two other girls that were pregnant as well. And the joke was that two of us were going to have boys and one of the other girls, the one that was just like coming in tore up, just sick.
See?
I felt so bad that she
See?
was the one with the girl, but she could have sworn up and down she was having a boy. And so I was like, wow, maybe I am having a boy because I'm not like her. Like, what happened?
Don't come for us. We were struggling.
I felt so bad. Like I just
Check on the girl moms. They are not all right.
We are not okay.
and then so I just was like, oh my gosh, what if I am having a boy? Because I low-key really wanted a boy. There's nothing but girls in my family. My mom has like how many granddaughters? There's like 6 granddaughters, one or two great granddaughters. So she doesn't have any grandsons. And for the longest, it was so funny. She kept telling Dennis, like, Dennis, you gonna give me my grandson for Christmas? And
That's exactly how she sounds too.
the crazy part about it was that Christmas, if I would have taken the pregnancy test, it would have came back positive already. I didn't take it till New Year's, so she kind of had her wish.
Surprise!
Right.
I called it.
Exactly. You did call it. You did say, "Oh, it's gonna be a boy," and you're right. And you literally said that you had boy clothes, and I was like, "Nah, don't bring it, because what if it's not a boy?" And you're like, "You know what?" But but yeah, and then the other thing about that was, I don't know if the other ladies experienced this, but a few months prior to us even being pregnant, I kept having baby dreams, and I kept having a dream about a baby boy, and all I kept picturing was this black hair, curly hair, tan boy. And I'm like, what is, like, are we gonna get pregnant? Like, what's going to, we weren't really planning on it. We talked about it. And yeah, and then some of the other things too with that is they say, oh, if you do certain positions during intercourse, you could kind of like like push it so that it's a boy, or push it, or like trying to like, this is a girl because the girl sperms, or the sperms that swim faster are like the girls, or like, I don't know, it's just crazy.
You gotta
heard
put
it.
socks on. You gotta have your headband on.
You got him upside down on a headstand. I don't
Right,
know.
basically, it's so funny. I don't know, like I said, everybody's so different. Every pregnancy is so different. But based off of the other girl that was also pregnant, and our due dates like were literally one day apart, we had almost the exact same symptoms, and she had a boy first too. So I thinking some of the myths behind, the gender of the baby could
Looking
possibly be a
miserable.
little true.
Oh God, I hope I'm not miserable.
Mm.
Brittnie, you was tore up with your girl?
No, I mean, I had morning sickness with Wesley, but I nipped that in the bud. I had took some Unisom and a vitamin B6 together. So Unisom is like the sleeping medication, and vitamin B6 together helps with that morning sickness. The midwife put me onto that, and I was like, "Oh yeah, we taking it," and that helped me. And then with Charlotte, I really didn't have any morning sickness, and with both of my pregnancies, I only ever felt nauseous. I never threw up.
Y'all feel like y'all need a set? Y'all straight? Y'all want more kids? Tiff said she done. So that's
I am absolutely
I'm
done.
good.
Snip, snip, I'm done. I was like, book me my appointment 3 months
Oh
later.
wow.
You said ain't nothing to cut
I
that thing off.
I'm undecided. My husband, if it were up to him, I would be having like 5 kids. But I think
Shout
when
out
you
to
start to
African.
think about this realistically, I've learned on this journey that having the baby is very easy, but it's the mothering part and mothering well that's important. And so it's like, okay, how much do I have to give? And I need to be responsible enough to understand when is enough enough. I started thinking at one point, I was like, oh yeah, maybe I would want another kid. But I was like, you know what kind of mom would I be to my existing kids? And then that's when I got a plant to help me. A couple of plants, actually. Something else to care for outside of like a living human being. Because it's a big responsibility. Like it's no joke. Like that raising the kid part is so important, and I just don't want to mess it up.
My motto is you have enough where everybody has the partner to ride at Disney. So a ride only fits two at a time. So it's 2 of us. It's me and Rick. So we could only have one each because
That's a good way
we
to think
can't
about
leave
it.
somebody out. Plus, Logan's older compared to Amanda and Britt's kids. So like he's at the point where he's in sports and he's doing stuff. And now we put her in gymnastics and she was 18 months old. But trying to balance that between the two of them is a lot. Like, and it's only 2 of us. So I can't imagine if we had another kid to throw in there, that like how are we gonna do this if the next kid like has another sport, like because
Logan's gonna have to drive.
I
at 8 years old.
I heard that myth that it's like when it's hard to go from not being a parent to being a parent.
Yeah.
And then once you have a kid, it's an easy transition to get 2 kids. But then it's hard again to go from 2 to 3. Like I hear that a lot.
Yeah, and plus you have to deal with the age gap. Like that's another thing. Like you have to. For me, I consider the age gap. Like so, they're 3.5 years apart. I can't imagine having another one now. So like that'd be nice. They'd be 3.5 years apart from Kendall, but that's 7 years apart from Logan. Like that's crazy to me.
But for the record, my sister's 7 years, and I guess in my culture, it's like once you have like the first 2 kids or whatever, when you have that whatever kid you have after, the older kids raise the younger kids. So it's just that's really just what it is. So it's like the parents kind of sit back while the older ones raise the younger ones.
Yeah, with us, so again, I said it before, we technically our number is 3. I do worry a little bit how it would be to have a second child because I'm a little nervous, with not, the whole pregnancy or giving birth. Like now that I know what that is, like I'm okay with that part. It's the part where how am I going to divide my attention with my toddler, and my newborn? How am I going to make sure that my toddler doesn't feel neglected or doesn't feel like, why is mommy always with the new baby? Like, why doesn't she carry me more? Like that stuff kind of like, just plays with me a little bit because I don't ever want my firstborn to ever feel like I'm replacing him or that he's not as important at the moment. Like I never would make him feel that way, which is one of the things I'm now like planning ahead is the transition for him. So, little things like, preparing him for like when he does have a little brother and sister, like, hey, when we play, I'm like, oh, look, this is brother Iron Man and this is brother Spider-Man, and they love playing together. So to kind of get him in that mindset, like, okay, mama's talking a lot about a brother, a sister, brother, sister, playing together, doing things together, so that when that new baby comes, he'll be a little bit prepared. I know it's still gonna be a transition for him, for everybody else, but I think that's definitely one of the things I worry a little bit about, him and how he's gonna feel when a new baby's here. But I think, as parents, me and Dennis would do our best to make sure we're dividing our attention, that he never feels neglected, that he never feels less than, and then just, kind of like Tiff said, you got to ride. You got this one, I got the other one. Now we're like taking turns. So, kind of think of it that way. And then, once that happens, once we cross that bridge, then we would have to prepare for the third one, because again, you think about these gaps, you think about the age gap. Some people can have a child right away, like year after year, and I'm like, holy hell, like how? Like, I'm trying.
How did you do this?
Like, how do you, like, I couldn't even imagine, being pregnant right away from having my firstborn. But then I think, like, maybe if I would have just knocked it out the way, then you know what I mean? Like,
it's the 2 under 2.
Yeah.
Oh, I had that.
You think about so many different things. But I also think that you kind of have to always make sure that you have a partner that's on the same page as you, and that can kind of like what's the word, like, just on the same page, and write it out with you, like, okay, if we're ready to do this right now, let's go ahead and do it. If we're not, let's give it some more time. Like, kind of set your own rules with your partner in your own household. Like, I think that's one thing that works well for a lot of different couples, is setting your own rules with in regards to the next time you have the next kid, if it's planned or unplanned. I don't know. I think at the end of the day, every situation is kind of different. But I would kind of hope that, with a second child, some things will go a little bit easier than with the first. And then obviously learn from any new things that I'm going to be experiencing, since, like I said, I'm still just a first time mom, not a second time mom yet. But yeah, I'm learning still. Like, I think we're all still learning with, our kids.
Yeah, we're all learning.
I'm
I'm still a
learning.
new mom. I was like, I'm still in that new mom club. I don't care.
I've been here for a minute and I'm still like, you just never stop learning.
So, I mean, with that being said, I know y'all love y'all kids and we're here for it. But when is mommy time? Do you have mommy time for yourselves? Do you do anything for you? Do you kind of just drop the kids off at mommy's house?
Not all y'all making the same faces.
I
Like,
mean,
nah, bro.
It's like, it's you finding joy in those small moments. So obviously we know you have to take care of yourself. So like, I have a set time every day that I'm taking a shower. Nobody can take a shower or a bath or anything at my hour, at my time. So that's kind of like a way that I kind of carve out, some sacred time for me. But really, the biggest thing that I could do for getting mommy time in daily was keeping my kids on a schedule. So bedtime is non-negotiable. Like, you go to bed at 7, other one go to bed at 8, now that he's getting a little bit older. But that is non-negotiable, because I need something to look forward to at the end of the day, and saying like, okay, I have this little chunk of time where it's just going to be me and my journal, maybe my cup of tea, maybe I watch a show. But that's kind of how I get it in. It's not always going to get my nails done or shopping at Target. It's really just making sure that the schedule is right.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it is getting my nails done and shopping at Target. So
nothing wrong with that.
I do go once a month, and I get my nails done once a month, and they last the whole, but like that's nice to me. I go after work, I go about 6 o'clock, and like it takes a couple hours, so like that's me time, and I get to talk or whatever um with my nail lady. And during COVID there was a TikTok that was like, I don't gotta get naked for no tennis bracelet, but I will get naked to go to Target by myself. And I was like, yes,
No,
I will do what it takes to go to Target by
I know
myself.
that's right.
Oh
That
gosh.
is my happy place. So like it for me, it's as simple as like I gotta go run an errand and I go to a store by myself. It's nice because if it was up to Kendall, she like sees the car key, she's like, I want to go.
Mm-mm.
Logan, all you gotta do is say like Target, and he's like, I want to go to Target. So it's little things like I enjoy like trips to the store by myself. And in the beginning Rick kind of had to tell me like, you can do like us time, you can be an adult, it's okay. For me, I feel like I lived out a lot of that. Like I did my partying, I did all of that. So when it came time to be a mom, I was like, okay, I gotta be a mom now. Like, and there's nothing like in my mind, obviously there's other stuff, but it's like, there's nothing else, I have to be a mom. So it took a little bit, but then I finally started to decide, okay, we can leave him, we can go out. Because for like my push present after I had Logan, Rick had bought us tickets to go see Mark Anthony, and Logan was like a month old, and I was like, I don't want okay, you bought the tickets, we can't get a refund, I'll go. Like, because I was so excited and I wanted to go, but then like when Logan got here, it was kind of like, I gotta leave him. And when I tell you, we went to the show, it was at the casino, it was at Foxwoods. As soon as it was over, I was like, all right, you ready to go? Like,
Oh,
had that been a year earlier, I would have been like, all right, where we going? Where we walking in the casino? And then, so it took a little bit for me to learn it's okay to leave them. And then Kendall, I didn't really leave her. I think the first time I left her was my friend's wedding. And even then, it's kind of like, you think, well, for me, I thought about, I'm like, are they okay? And then he's like, stop checking your phone, stop texting, stop doing this. And so I can proudly say 3.5 years later, I could drop and leave and not worry and be like, all right. Actually, it's him that starts to go, I miss my babies, I think they're okay. I'm like, they're fine. They're fine.
Yeah, I think it also took me some time to kind of think like it's okay to have me time. I think the first year, mind you, we were going through the pandemic of COVID, so there was not too many places I could go with the baby or by myself that I felt comfortable with. It was a scary time. So that first year was very hard, being in the house all day and not being at work because we basically, decided that I was going to become a stay-at-home mom, or maybe I decided and Dennis just went along because he always goes along with whatever craziness I come up with, right? So
It's a good partner.
right, exactly. So basically, yeah, it was very hard. And then when, he would always be like, babe, you can go do things on your own, like I got this, don't worry about it, just go. If you want to go back to work, if you want to work on the weekends, or if you want to pick up a hobby, if you want to go shopping, if you want to do
that's
this.
sweet.
So he was always encouraging, he was always encouraging, pushing me out there to go do stuff. And a lot of it was me holding myself back because I'm like, no, because I want to make sure he's okay. I know that you got this, I know that you do, but we do a little, as moms, as females, we do things a little bit differently,
And better sometimes.
but
Mhm.
so yeah, so I was like, I was worried sometimes. And then when I had the opportunity to go, what am I thinking about? My kid, like, oh my gosh, what is he doing? Should I just go back now? So it was like a lot of that, back and forth thing, and just like feeling comfortable, feeling like myself again took a while. It definitely took a while to feel like myself, because like I said, the transition was different. I was learning it. I it's not like I necessarily, like I was just trying to adjust. I was trying to adjust to how to be a mom and how to mommy, and then how to be myself, because it was hard in the beginning. And then, now it's definitely a lot easier. I get, a lot of breaks in between, taking care of him as a stay-at-home mom and doing my own thing, like just randomly picking up hobbies and staying in the bedroom, like, okay, I got this hour, I'm gonna do this, I don't need to be bothered, or like, going out on the weekends to, I don't know, do Uber or something. Like, I don't, it's just right now, it's just honestly anything really to kind of just me, because it could be 7 o'clock at night, and if I have to go do groceries, I'm happy. And like, the old me would not be happy leaving the house at 7 p.m. for groceries. Like, what? Are you kidding me? So I'm okay with it. I'm okay. I have some alone time, some time, with myself, just my thoughts, and it's nice. And it definitely takes time to adjust, but when you get there, you'll embrace it, and you won't feel bad, you won't feel guilty, you'll give yourself grace because you need it. I think in order to be a good mom, you need to be a happy mom. And happy mom, that comes in different shapes, forms, sizes, and you got to look for what makes you happy. And if you have a support system that gets you there, take it, because you can't do it all by yourself, and that's okay. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Yeah.
Good.
Well, you guys all touched on it a little bit. So, like, what was you guys' support system, and how early did they kick in?
Yeah, for the whole pregnancy, it was my husband. Like, just a big shout out to my mom. I don't know how she did this shit alone. I can't even relate, because it is just way too important to have your partner with you. If you don't have nobody else, at least have, if you can, right? The best of circumstances, have your partner. But my family was amazing. I think Amanda touched on it earlier. My mom came to visit, and she stayed for a whole month with both of my kids. And then my dad and my stepmom also came and stayed for like a week or 2 weeks, and that really helped me just get back on my feet and feel like a human again. So definitely lean on your support system. And even if it's just your friends, because they're the ones that are going to make sure that you're eating, and that they hold the baby so you can take a shower and maybe deep condition your hair. So it's so needed. And I feel for the women who don't have that, because like I said, I don't know how my mom did this by herself. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I don't got kids.
For Logan, I had, obviously, Rick. He was always there and really, really supportive. I have his parents were, not that his dad isn't, but like obviously his mom, right? Because she has that motherly instinct. So like her support is a little different. But her joke was like, I'm supportive, but I will never go in a delivery room. And I was like, I'm okay with that. So actually his uncle's wife, so his aunt, was the one in the room with me and him when I had Logan. Like, she's like a second mom to me. She was there, and she was Rick was on one side, Marilyn was on the other. You could feel like the love and the support, like, so I knew he was like being born in a nice environment. And like, we continued to have that support after I had my grandmother. Like, his aunt watched Logan, so I could go back to work, and she was always there. And oddly enough, when Logan was almost 2, I met my birth mom, because I was raised by my great grandmother. So I had finally met my birth mom, and so like I established that relationship with her. So when I got pregnant with Kendall, now my support system was bigger. Like, now I had a bigger support system. So I was able to have my mom in the room when I had Kendall, and like my grandmother from her side now. So now my kids are experiencing 2 great grandmothers, and my aunt on both sides. Not that like I didn't have enough support with Logan. Like, I truly felt like my village became bigger with Kendall, and along with my friends. Like, my friends have always like supported them. Thanks, guys, because I truly believe it takes a village. Like, even if it's just to be like, how they doing? Oh, a simple comment on something. Like, I'm always big on like just a check-in or a comment. Like, I don't need materialistic items. I'm more like, can you just be there emotionally and mentally for me and my kids?
Mm-hmm.
I don't need you to buy me nothing. Like, because what's going to last with me and my kids is the memories, not the material item that I'm probably going to get rid of 5 years from now.
Yeah, my biggest support again was Dennis. You know, he's been literally there since day one. I knew like from the beginning he was gonna be a wonderful dad and you know a great partner to share our life together because I could just tell how much of a big family man he was. So I knew I would never really necessarily worry that I would ever do this by myself, thank God, because unfortunately not too many mothers have their partners in their lives to be supported, and that's the biggest, I think that's the most biggest uh thing, like that emotional availability of your spouse being there for you during this transition to parenthood, because I think that without that it would be 10 times harder for me.
Yeah.
So, that was amazing. That's always still, an amazing connection that me and him have. And then also, having my mother there for the very first month that the baby was there, like I could not have done that also without her. She helped me so much. And like Brittnie said, I can never imagine how the heck she did it with 5 kids. Like by herself. It's crazy. I kudos to the generations before us, the mothers, our grandmothers,
No.
our great grandmothers,
Yeah.
because these women, they did not have the resources available that we have now, and they're just very strong, amazing women, and I just look up to them, and I hope one day I could just amount to what my mother, what my grandmother, were as mothers themselves. Like I pray that I'll amount to that someday. But overall, it was amazing to have my mother there, and then knowing I have on speed dial those close mommy friends, and my sisters, my mom, Dennis's mom. Now that we've moved to a state where we're closer to family, it's so awesome to have to have more people around us, because we didn't necessarily have that first year being so far away from family members. So now that we actually physically can see more family, it's even better. It's an even better journey that that you need once you become a parent. I didn't really think about it prior to that, because I'm at the moment, or at the time, I was single, no relationship, I was living out of state on my own. I wasn't really checking in with my mother like that. Like I was living my life. But then after becoming a mother myself, I'm like, wow, like I need my mom. Like I need to check in with her some more. Like this is way different. I have to, you know what I mean? Like I need to basically just have that support from her the most, because as a mom she just knows everything. And now like I need her more than ever, type of thing. And I'm just so grateful. Like I said, I'm so grateful for my family, for Dennis's family, because I just don't think, I think it would definitely be hard to do this all by myself if I didn't have them in my life.
Shout out to the moms. Shout out to all that.
Yes.
Shout out to y'all. Hats are off. Okay, so kind of to wrap everything up, would you do anything differently? And what is your advice to newly mothers out there, or mothers in general?
I only say that I would do things differently because my kids have brought out some of the biggest shadow energies in me. And one of my biggest things is impatience. And the kids are constantly teaching me that. So I really wish that I would have invested in some sort of therapy before becoming a mom. I just did not realize how much I was going to be triggered by my own children. And one of the goals that I went into when I started this motherhood journey was like, whatever I do, I want my kids to have a childhood that they don't have to recover from when they're adults. Because I feel like there's so much things that happened to me as a child and that I experienced that I felt like, I really, really want something different for my babies. So I'm always thinking about how I talk to them. Am I yelling too much? What am I programming them for in this very malleable state that they're in? And how do I make sure that I set them up for success and have really confident, well-rounded kids. So if anything, I really wish that I would have invested more heavily in therapy before becoming a mother. And I also wish that I had like a pet or something else to care for prior to my kids, because I think that teaches you early that you have something else that comes before you. And it helps you with your patience, or at least these are my thoughts on it. I'm not sure if that's true, but I think that's one thing that I would have done differently. And then for the other part of the question, it would really just be to advocate for yourself. We're living in a time where the mortality rate for Black women in hospital settings is like skyrocketing. C-sections are out the roof. If you can advocate for yourself and make sure that you get the best care that your insurance can provide, if you're not clear on what hospital your OB is attached to, figure that out fast, because you could end up with a random doctor, and that's not fun either. And then possibly getting yourself a doula or somebody that can really speak for you and help you through the laboring process, because you need that. You need the support.
That's good to know. I will definitely get a pet first. Thank you.
I'm just saying, it might help.
Or a plant.
Or a plant.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it would have been a plant. I mean, I can't keep them alive. I don't think I would do anything differently, because for me, like I said before, like I gained something in between having the kids. So I feel like if I did anything different, I wouldn't have that. Maybe actually the only thing I would have did was waited a little bit longer, but I also didn't want to. So it's kind of like one of those things, like I know I didn't want to, but maybe I should have, just so we could have been married just a little bit longer. But I think we knew each other since high school. We've known each other since we were 17. So it's kind of like we had a solid 8 years together before a kid, so it's kind of, maybe that would have been the only thing different, but I'm okay with it. As for advice, I'd probably just say it's okay to not be okay. Like, like, that was my biggest thing, for me to be able to say, like, I'm not fine, in the sense of like, no, I do need a minute. I do need, like, I need you to go to your corner and I'm gonna go to my corner, whether it be your spouse, your significant other, your kid, like whoever it may be. Like, you go to your corner, I go to mine. I need a minute, and then we'll like recoup. Like, it's okay to take that moment to yourself. It's okay to do what you got to do, because it just goes back to, if you are not your best self, you can't be a good parent or a good wife, whatever it is. Like, you can't have your cup empty and try to fill somebody else's cup. Like, it's just not gonna work. I mean, patience is another thing. Develop patience. But that's been my biggest thing. So if that's one thing I could pass on, you can't fill somebody else's cup if your cup is empty.
That's fair.
For me, I think I don't regret anything. I think that if there's one thing I could have changed, maybe is the fact that I could have learned to just take it easier on myself, like go with the flow, but like also don't be over dramatic about certain things when it comes to having your first baby. Like, at times it felt like I was literally running with my tail behind my, like in between my legs, or like the sky was falling, or it was crazy. I was a crazy person. I'm like, what is happening? Again, the hormonal stuff, right? The baby blues, all that stuff. So had I did anything to intervene, with how I was feeling at the time, I think I would have definitely enjoyed the experience a little bit more. And that's something I'm hoping, with the second pregnancy, that I'm able to experience it in a more joyful way than I did the first time around. It took me a little bit of time, and so that's one thing that I wanted to know more about, is giving myself grace. And like Tiffany, I think, was the one who said it, knowing that it's okay to not be okay, but it's okay, the there's life, we're still living, the baby's still alive, like take it easy, just take a deep breath, just go with it, don't be overly thinking about certain things or overly dramatic about other things. Kind of enjoy it a little bit more than just being analytical about so many things. And I think also with what Brittany said, kind of educate yourself a little bit more with and this goes, you know, to as an advice to all mothers and or new mothers or mommies to be or that want to become mothers. It's kind of, you know, be more knowledgeable about motherhood. There are a lot of books out there about parenthood. There are mommy groups that even if you're not a mom, I would recommend joining, because I joined those groups after having the baby, and I'm like, oh my god, you learn so much and you can relate to so many other mothers. And like I said, even if you're not a mom just yet, I would jump in there and kind of see what these ladies are talking about, because then it kind of will prepare you. And you know, like, oh, once it happens to you, it's like, oh, now I know what they were talking about. You know, you're not like, you know, going into the dark, because that was one thing. I went into the dark of the unknown of, like, you know, oh god,
The
there's
unknown
much more.
motherhood.
Yeah,
What?
right there you hear about all these things, all the milestones, and if the baby's not here, and like you know, developing here in this milestone and this and that, and the witching hour and the cluster feeding and like all this stuff, and I'm like, huh, like what is happening? Where is this rule book when I needed it? But mind you, there's none. It's just, you know, it's just a lot of things that, you know, women are experiencing with being mothers. And it's good to, you know, if you, especially if you're actually planning it, to prepare yourself a little bit for it, and give yourself a lot of grace, and also know that this is a selfless act. You are now responsible
Amen.
for somebody else, and I would much rather
Preach.
a woman and a man actually, you know, want to be a parent than just go and procreate and not even be responsible for this child, because that is, now as a mom, that is so hurtful when, you know, when I see, you know, these kids in orphanages or just parents that are just so irresponsible, and you know, the kids suffer. It's like, this is such a selfless act, and if you're not doing this for selfless reasons, don't do it at all. Like, you are literally uh you know, saving so many children by not taking up this responsibility of procreating. Like, that's just, you know, how I feel about that. But
You said it so nice, but in other words, wrap it up.
Yeah.
Just wrap it up.
Can I also
Don't procreate and put people out there knowing you ain't gonna take care of it.
That's true. Another piece of, like, a little quick piece of advice is, like, don't make other moms feel guilty. What you can do with your body is not the same thing that I can do with mine. So just because I got an epidural doesn't make me less than a mother. Then, you know, or if you got a C-section, it doesn't make you any less than somebody else. If you can't breastfeed or you choose not to breastfeed, these are like all your choices. So,
yeah.
you know, hashtag my body, my choice. Like, let me do what I need to do, because it doesn't make you any less than a mother. And my kid is just as smart as yours, if not smarter,
No, that's right.
if because they were formula fed. You know,
Yes.
like, you just don't know what was happening, you know, or if it was somebody's choice. Either way, just don't
Yeah.
another mom, and don't make anybody feel less than just because it's not something you did or it wasn't your choice.
Exactly. Don't be that judgmental mom. Please don't. That's one thing I learned early on. I don't ever want to be the judgmental mom. I don't ever want advice or words with a judgmental mom. Like, that is a no. Like,
Yeah,
don't be it.
my sister-in-law, she had put on her Instagram, she was just like, all right, for those people who talking about something, it's cold outside, my response is now, and I know that because I guess she was taking the kids out or something like that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it'd be your parents that's trying to slide in those backhanded things like, oh, don't you think you should cut your kid's hair? No, nothing's wrong with their curl pattern. It's staying. You know, like little, little things like
And
that.
it is a myth that you get sick when you go outside with your hair wet. I'm just saying.
I don't know the last time I didn't go and check on my kids in the middle of the night. Like it's like,
Oh,
you wake up to go to use the bathroom. All right, let me just peep in there real quick. Or it's just like not full sleep. Like it's just like, yo, like I don't get it.
I don't wake up.
Don't sleep the same until they're like way older.
Oh no, I do.
You
See,
once I'm out, and I do not wake up.
Oh God,
you're so lucky.
I'm so bad.
You are
it's
so
not
lucky.
Nice.
I do have a burning question though. Like I think about it a lot, and I've seen like a lot of different like TikToks mention it. They're like, I love my children, but I miss her, and they have like has like old video of who she used to be before she had kids. Like she's like partying, drinking, having a good old time, like just out like frolicking and stuff like that. Like, do you miss your life before kids, or do you like even compare it?
Sometimes, I mean, it's really easy to romanticize the past, and I think of it more so in terms of like my entrepreneurial goals. Like now that I have kids, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I didn't have kids, I would be able to do this, and that. But the reality is, even when I didn't have them kids, I wasn't going after those things. So I feel like you really, we can romanticize different eras of our life. And it really is like, nah, that was not you. So anyway,
I love Brittnie. I love you for that, Brittnie.
I love that. Like,
I don't miss myself. I think I'm better now. But like a little bit of me is still like, now I could like live a little more. Like I could be like, I used to be like not at all spontaneous. Like now I could be like, 2% spontaneous. No.
I was about to say, we going skydiving? What's up?
I always wanted to go skydiving. That has been before kids. So I will go. Hands down. Rick is like, I'm not jumping out of a plane. I'm like, let's go.
Yes, you inspired me.
This is why me and Rick get along. Because who's jumping out of a perfectly
only have
plane?
two options. You either gonna die or you gonna land. So
and I'm choosing landing. So, but I don't miss.
That 50% ain't it.
I don't miss me. I had a lot of fun, but you know what? This just goes back to that advice. Don't lose yourself, because I have fun now. It's just a different kind of fun. I'm just, it got to be before 9 a.m. Otherwise, 9 p.m. 9 p.m.
I'm like,
otherwise, well, we gonna have some fun.
Wake up, she needs some fun.
It gotta be before 9 p.m. or that's bedtime. Like, don't ask me to go out after 9 because I'm yawning as we going into a club. Like, or what is a club? I'd rather have like
club?
I am all about chilling in a house now. Like, we could have game night with some like drinks in the house. Okay.
Yeah, game night at the house is fun.
Girl, that's just like after fun. 30. You don't even need to throw no kids in the mix on that. That's just being in your 30s.
If I do that, sure.
I don't know. I think in the beginning, you know what? During the times 2 to 5 in the morning, maybe a thought crossed my mind like, if I didn't have any kids, I could be asleep right now or partying. I don't know. You know what I mean? Yes. But I don't necessarily miss those things, that type of lifestyle. I feel like I've been there, done that. And like if we wanted to go party, you could still do it. Like Tiffany said, you could still do certain things. Of course, now it's like a time limit because I can't handle being out all night. Like I'd rather just sleep all night because I don't, you know what I mean? Like I can't sleep all night sometimes. But like overall, I think the if I do miss anything, it'll probably just be the fact that, like just, if I wanted to sleep in or if I wanted to stay up late, knowing that, I don't have to worry about, making sure the baby's straight in the middle of the night, or, if I wanted to just, I don't know, have a glass of wine or two and feel like a light buzz. I feel like I can't do that because I need to be in alert mode just to make sure my son's straight. So you think those are the type of things
I'll be lit. Just not in front of the kids. Not in front of the kids. Not in front of the kids.
2 shots.
Nah, I've grown. I'm on Tennessee Honey now. Okay.
Ooh, that's more than grown.
Dang, that is grown.
On the porch grown.
So yeah, I think once you get past certain moments
Yeah.
during your transition into motherhood, you
Yeah.
kind of just, you start to migrate into a different version of yourself, where now, like, you're thinking about certain things differently than you would have first coming into, parenthood. And so, now it's like I said, I don't miss a lot of those things. Like, it's nice to think about it sometimes because it's just happy memories. That's what it is. But I'm also making new memories and just,
Yeah.
living in the moment and enjoying being a mother and, being at home with my family. I think that's definitely the most important thing now to me. And so, yeah, so I don't, those people, sometimes they can't get it all out of their system. And again, you can definitely do certain things even though, you're a parent now. I feel like that there are certain things you can do. Just, some people, the way they do it is the way they do it. Like, again, that's, you are who you are. But with me now, it's like I'm a whole different version, and I'm just trying to become a better version of a mother, really.
They've
So
evolved. I'll tell you right now, y'all ain't missing nothing. Stay where y'all at. Please stay in the house.
We ain't
Y'all
missing nothing.
not missing nothing. You're not
Day
missing anything.
day drinking is way better than what we used to do. I'll tell you that. Because
Yes.
then I could be in the
in
house.
the house drunk.
Yes. Look, do
Like-
your ankles get bigger?
Oh,
Yes.
I had my
Mhm.
feet look like
It's the
Hummels.
lymphedema is real.
Yeah.
With Kendall, I look like, when you get the pork or the ham like wrapped up in the wire,
Mhm.
like
Oh,
so if I put on sneakers with my sock or like sandals and I would take it off, I would have the lines to the point, like I had cankles and I had very skinny ankles.
Yes.
My calves were already big and my calves just went into my ankle like it was nothing, and I never had that problem, and I was like, yeah. And my feet swole up. Like I had to go.
That happens.
When I was pregnant with Logan, Payless was still open, so I'm dating myself.
Oh
But
man.
Dating yourself. We're all
in the 30s.
yeah.
we all in
Well, for those that are listening that may not be 30, Payless was a shoe store, but I had to get the flats that had the little spring in the back, like the ones that like stretch, because I didn't have. And then with Kendall, by that time Walmart had came on. What? No, they were nice dress flats. They just had the little stretch. And with Kendall, by that time Walmart had came on with the slip on like sneakers that had the little stretch too. So I was able to get those, and my feet fit nicely.
Oh, but what about them contractions, though?
Oh, well, listen.
When did
I
it
thought
get
you'd
real?
never ask.
I
Okay.
didn't have that problem. So I'm gonna let Brittany and Amanda tell you, because
I could tell you. Well, so
I
with
didn't have that.
Wesley, I felt contractions, and I actually ended up getting an epidural. I was probably like, I don't even know how much I was dilating, but the more relaxed your body gets, the stronger the contractions come on, because they're like, okay, she can handle this. We're going to get this baby out. And I panicked, and I was just like, get me the epidural immediately. And with Charlotte, because I labored so long at home, by the time we got to the hospital, they weren't able to give me an epidural. And so I felt everything. It really feels like that transition stage, that's what they call it, right before the baby comes. It just feels like you want to just jump up out of your skin. It's the most intense
out of your skin,
squeezing of your pelvic area. Like, it's just like this crazy squeeze. And I remember praying, yelling. I was talking so much trash. I mean, nothing was able to like calm me down until they said to push. She was like, you know what? We can stop all this madness. It was the doctor. She was like, we're going to stop all this madness right now. We're going to just go ahead and push. And I was like, I'm afraid to push without an epidural, because I was fearful of that ring of fire situation. And she was just like, know what? It's going to be more of a relief than anything. And it really was. So I don't know how many times I pushed, but it wasn't for long. And
were you squatting?
I didn't squat. I was actually on my back for that one, but it felt comfortable. So I just like had my knees up as far as I could go. and I was pushing, and I did feel the ring of fire, but it really wasn't that bad. Like, honest to God, it was like pressure, extreme pressure. Like, I felt like I was gonna feel something ripping, but honestly, I didn't tear. No tearing.
Oh,
Literally, like, it was the craziest thing. But the doctors usually will do a perennial or a perineal massage where they get two fingers in
vaginal canal.
Yes, they put the two fingers in and they'll like kind of massage and
Like,
apply around they'll apply pressure around the holes. And so that really helped. But the ring of fire really didn't feel that bad. I was like, oh, it's just pressure. So
I lied with Kendall. I did feel it because the anesthesiologist
stopped working.
gave me. It only worked on one side, and all the medicine I gave myself was on the left side. Once they broke my water, it's that pressure, and it did. Like, that's when I looked at Rick like 20 minutes later, and I was like, I can't do this. Like, I just can't. So it's kind of like you can't be you don't want to be in your skin, and you don't want to be in this moment anymore. It's just like,
get me out.
Like, yeah, but it's really, and it was
tag your partner in.
Like, I wish. I was like, you did this. And he was like, I know, I'm so sorry. Like, but you have to. And I was like, I don't want to. Like, she could stay. And I felt, and I don't know if it's because I only had half of my body feeling it. So I did feel like I experienced the ring of fire. Maybe if it was the whole thing, it would have. But I was able to focus in on only one half of my body. I felt everything on my right side of my body, and I think that's why So compared to Logan, I pushed longer. I had 1 degree tear, like very superficial. I didn't need stitches. They just chose to give me 2 anyway, just to make sure it heals okay. But they were like, you really don't need any. I'm just gonna give you 2 anyway. But with Kendall, I think because I wanted that relief, I didn't give time to tear. It was literally 29 minutes of pushing. Not even 29 minutes. It was probably less than that. They made me stop because I was trying to get her out and there was no doctor in the room to catch her. And they were like, you gotta stop. You gotta stop, because I was going too fast.
My whole nurse would catch it. We be like,
I was like, look, I was ready to pull her out. Like, Rick, go get her. Like, what do you want to do?
We gonna Tiana Taylor this shit.
But
because they shoot out of there really fast, though.
Yeah, and so I did 3 pushes, 29 minutes. She was out.
Well, I felt the contractions all the way up until I was 7 centimeters long, and I can't now that like when I get period cramps, I'm like, those are slight like sensations of what I experienced, but on a higher level. And it was like I didn't know how to react. Like, I was trying to scream, but the scream wasn't coming out. I wanted to like literally sit up, but I couldn't. Like, I wanted to lay
had
down.
enough.
Like, I didn't know how. Like, my brain wasn't like connected to my body, so
Yes.
I didn't know how to act, how to react.
Come on her skin. She was like, listen,
For real.
already jumped
I'm
out.
telling you, you're gonna jump up
Jumped
out
out.
your skin.
Jumped out at 7 centimeters.
So my brain wasn't connected to
My brain wasn't connected to my body somehow, so
It got
like,
lost.
I didn't know. Like, it was just
her breath. I'm a head on out.
it was
For all the moms though that can do this and stay calm the whole time, because I've seen the videos and I've read the books. I did hypno babies, and it worked for me up until it didn't work anymore. But like, I feel for those women. I'm like, I bow to them, because I'm like, there's no way I'm staying calm. I am just gonna act a damn fool. Like,
the level of delirium for them to stay like that. Like, there's no way.
they're hypnotized.
I could barely get a tattoo without like wincing, and you want me to pop a baby out with no drugs?
Oh,
No,
thank
Did
you.
it feel like poop? Like,
Yes,
it
it did feel like that.
Poop.
I didn't. Well, you know what? I can't say. I don't know if I pooped. My husband had to tell me, but I do remember when I peed on myself. Like, I thought they had broke my water, and really they like with Wesley. So I had like an epidural, but somehow I was able to turn over and get on my knees. So I don't know. It was different. Anyway, I I was sitting there and I'm like, oh shoot, my water's breaking, right? Because all this water was just hitting the floor. And the nurses weren't saying nothing.
Also, you didn't have your catheter yet?
You have your moment.
No catheter. I just peed all over the floor. And nobody said anything. That's like some really good nurses, but I like literally peed.
Let her have this one.
It just kept going.
So the good thing is if you don't eat before, you don't poop. So
Man,
like
I would.
with Logan, I was going on about my normal day, so I think I guess a little bit came out, whatever. Rick said it did. I didn't feel anything because I was pushing and I had an epidural and I was drugged up. But Rick said it did. I'm gonna just say okay, because in that moment I didn't even care. Like whatever.
Listen, at that point,
but I will tell you this. Rick said that the nurses, like you have nurses right there. The nurses move so fast before you could even realize it's there. They got another towel under you, and you ready to go. With Kendall, I didn't because I didn't eat anything. I imaginary ate as I watched my mom and Rick eat pizza.
You couldn't be eating in my delivery room. That ain't right.
I don't know how you let them stay in the room like that, because I'm telling you right now.
To their defense, they were there since 5:30 in the morning.
If they was there since the week before I got
and go to the break room.
And to my and they were giving me popsicles and Jello up until I threw up. So because they kept telling me to push the pain button, it was injecting me with too much medicine, so that made me nauseous. So once I threw up, they were like, "We can't give you no more Jello or popsicles. You can only have water."
Ice chips.
And that was at the same. So I was okay because they were giving me popsicles and Jello. But then that was around the same time I threw up, and my mom and Rick got the pizza. So then I'm sitting there.
Listen to Rick and Mom. If y'all listening, she's sleeping thinking about what y'all did to her that day.
Oh, they know. They know. We still talk about it. 3.5 years later.
She has not forgotten.
No.
Hey y'all,
what about you? You poopy?
And to the pizza man.
I will not confirm nor deny.
Right?
So next question.
They're not, Amanda, we just gonna make this a blooper section. They don't know it yet. They don't know it yet.
But on that point, that was a lot of fun. We're gonna start the episode with that. But we appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for hopping on.
Thank you for having us.
Yes,
this
was so fun.
This was fun.
We appreciate y'all.
That I'm taking away is I'm definitely gonna sign up for those mommy sites that Amanda
start now.
Yep.
I'm definitely gonna get a doula that that Brittnie recommended. And I'm definitely not letting no jokers eat up in my room. Taken away today. Like that's all I need going forward. That's it.
Yeah, I would say what I took away is because I'm actually in that process of thinking if I'm gonna want a kid or not. So I definitely take away get a pet first or something else I can kind of take care of with my fiance so that we can see if we really want to do this. Definitely the doula and the midwife. I was thinking about that too, but you guys just really confirmed for me to get that as well. So those are my two biggest takeaways.
Yeah, mine, you solidified a doula. I always wanted to have an at-home birth, so I heard that a few times. So I'm definitely gonna push for that. My husband's just gonna have to accept it and get a doula. I really do want a doula. So that, and then on top of that, I probably hearing that it takes a village. So I know that's real. Yeah. Is that little Dennis?
That is him. I have to put him to sleep because we're on a schedule. We gotta go to school tomorrow.
Oh, you done made an appearance.
Hi, little Dennis.
Can you say hi? Say hi.
Oh my goodness!
Hi. A baby made a cameo.
He's like, not right now. Not right now.
Yeah, he's like, it's late. My Instagram is at Brittnie Sutton, BRITTNIE Sutton.
I am Tiffany _and_co 925. Add me. My page is private right now, but if you want to see my babies, I'll accept you.
They're gonna have to put this in the show notes.
You can see my babies, and you will learn that Kendall is my tiny yet fierce warrior, and Logan is just my sweet pea.
I believe it's Amanda_says with like 2 or 3 S's at the end.
You need to know it exactly.
It's difficult.
I think it's 2 S's.
We'll tag you guys at the
And she has a nails page too.
She does.
Oh yes, she
yes,
does.
y'all can
She does a good job with her nails. She does a really good job.
Yeah, we'll drop that too. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Thank y'all for listening. We probably have a part 2, so we appreciate y'all. We love y'all, and we will see y'all next week.
Bye.